Hi, and welcome to this week's energy forecast for the week of August the 14th through to August the 20th. I'm Rachael Phillips, and I am the creator of the BU Oracle cards. I coach and mentor people in the spiritual and wellness industry to be able to help them grow and expand their business. And I also have a couple of online courses. So this week we are really in the middle between the lunar eclipse and moving into the solar eclipse, which will be on the 21st of August. So not, actually 1 week from now, so next Monday here. So that's when we will have the new solar eclipse, and it's also around the new moon. So it's around setting new intentions. What is it that you want to invite and bring into your world? What are some of the things that you would like to really gain a lot of clarity around bringing and working towards the directions of making sure that you can make new things happen. Now, we're right in the middle of this transitional phase going through the lunar eclipse and moving into around the full moon, and also with the solar eclipse moving into the new moon. So we're in this transitional phase, and it can sometimes feel like we're stuck in the middle of no man's land. We're not going backwards, but we're not going forward. And this sometimes for some people can make them feel a little bit edgy, because we all like to feel like there's momentum, but sometimes there is momentum in the nothingness. So this week's energy is very much around allowing yourself to bring in the yin, to bring in the feminine flow. Now, you're probably wondering, what is the purpose of that? And I also asked the question too, because this week not only did I have the three normal 3-card spreads, but that was the very big question that I wanted to ask myself: what is around using so much feminine energy coming up this week? And so I pulled another 2 cards. So it was really quite interesting to receive the answer around that question. So let's go in and find out what this means for everyone. So these are our first 3 cards for this week's energy. So we've got grounding, which is around Monday and Tuesday. That is the energy for this week of Monday and Tuesday. Grounding is all around, as you would know, with the full moon, we have a lot of things being released and surrendering, which means that it can jumble up our equilibrium. We can find that we are not in as much alignment because we have got things that we are letting go, and that's leaving space. And unless we bring ourselves back to feeling very, very grounded, we can feel very, very disjointed, and we can resist this process a little bit more. So this is where it's really important, just if you can take a couple of moments out between Monday and Tuesday to just go in and really visualize yourself being cemented and grounded in with Mother Earth, and feel that unity and bond that's between both yourself and Mother Earth, because we do also vibrate on the same frequency, which will enable us to be able to move through that period of surrendering and releasing, and also being able to move through that. If for some people, now some people are going to be able to surrender and let go very, very simply, and then there'll be other people that will be resisting, and that will show up through addictions. Now, addictions is different for every single person. Addictions can be to food, alcohol, cigarettes. It can also be around exercise. It can be around mental and emotional. Like, are you a person that is addicted to emotionally beating yourself up because you're not where you want to be? We all will have some form of addiction that can come out as we're on that verge of being able to surrender and let go and move through to that next phase. And this is the area that we can find that we can come across real resistance. So if there is addiction that's coming up, there is also around recognizing that you're at that turning point where you can let go of the resistance and focus on what it is that you really want to invite into your world. So just shift your perception around that, because sometimes if you feel the need to let go of something, if you feel like it's not on your terms, you can really resist and force and push and pull and make sure that that's not going to happen. Yet your soul is saying, hey, that's just an old pattern of behavior. we are ready for this transition. So let's do this together, and let's do it in the most gentlest way as possible. So we don't need to really go through this process and really draw it out longer than that's what's possible. So having the ability to be able to come in and ground yourself is going to be able to quicken that process of surrendering. It's also going to enable you to, because also at this point, on an unconscious level, which is now beautifully, for some people, it's going to be beautifully shifting into a conscious level. We're starting to have ideas, thoughts, and concepts dropping into our conscious mind. Now, you'll remember I wrote this down from last week. So we've got all of these beautiful ideas and concepts being brought into our conscious mind, but they're like a jigsaw puzzle. So sometimes it can feel like, well, I don't really understand what the whole point of this is about. I really don't understand what the message is. So being able to ground yourself takes you out of your mind matter and allows you to become fully present within your own soul self, and therefore be able to start really being able to interpret some of these messages that are coming through for you, but being able to do it in a way where you feel incredibly balanced, not just all crazy from the full moon and from the surrendering, the releasing, and the excitement of knowing that new great shit is going to happen, moving from this like total crazy hype. And that feels good in the moment, but it fizzles out and we become very, very exhausted. So we have more longevity if we can manage to maintain being able to stay grounded and look at beautiful new creative ways in which we can interject and bring in all of these really cool ideas and concepts into our world, and then being able to look at how can you multiply function, be really diverse with being able to use that information over lots of different areas in your world. Okay, so it's about having that little bit of creative channel. The energy from Wednesday through till Friday is all about femininity. Now, this is all around self-care, self-nurturing, being gentle with ourselves, being mindful of the internal conversations that you're having with yourself. It could also be giving you that real little nudge to like move into, you know, when we go through so much surrendering and releasing, we can find that we want to move into a space where we start feeling like when we look at ourselves in the mirror that we feel beautiful. So you may want to start dressing up a little bit more and allowing that feminine flow, also that feminine sexuality to come through, to feel comfortable in your own skin, to be able to express yourself in a way that's empowering and in a way that is gentle and nurturing and validates and honors who you are in a very, very powerful space. So we can starting to see that there's a real strength that comes through in this femininity, and being able to have this beautiful blend as to when to execute and use the masculine aspects of ourselves to push, hustle, grind, get shit done. And then also then knowing when to be able to step back and allow ourselves to move into this feminine, which is about staying in our natural state of flow. And therefore we have the ability, we have more time, we have more space, we have more energy, we feel good about ourselves because we're honoring every part of our own sense of self. And that in itself is an incredibly beautiful and also very, very sexy. I think like when you see someone that is feeling very empowered and comfortable in their own skin and has the ability to execute it in a way that also empowers others, that is incredibly sexy, as opposed to someone's force, push, throw shit down your throat and make you feel like if you're not in the hustle and grind that you're not good enough. This is not about that. This is a moment to be able to recognize that in you know, the scales. You must have everything balanced at the right time. Now, this is about going in and just making any adjustments as to, is there certain areas within your world where you feel like you may not be quite as in flow with yourself, and then going in and just asking yourself, what is it that you need to do to bring that self into check? Which also then brings me to the weekend, which is around solitude, which is about taking a little bit of moment to go within. Now, as we start moving towards the new moon and setting intentions, everything about this month is about going within, checking in. Who are we? Where do we want to be? Am I in alignment? Am I being true to myself? Am I really starting to reveal and let myself be seen, not only just by others, but most importantly by myself. Every single human has gone through this amazing transformation over this year. Like, you can't have got to this part of this year and not undergone some form of massive transformation. So there's this whole new level of learning about yourself at this new level right now, which is incredibly exciting. The journey of learning to understand who you are is always going to be an exploration, because you will no sooner learn and understand yourself at one level, and then you're going to have this beautiful evolution, this new growth that's going to elevate you to a whole new level. And therefore, it's going to reveal something even more about yourself. So the journey of going within is a lifelong journey, and you will find and discover some incredibly amazing things about yourself. You'll also discover some things that may not be right exactly where you want them to be, but it gives you that opportunity to come back to what is your own truth, and being able to look at how is it that you can work with this, and be able to shift your perception and bring healing and transformation to those areas that you may not feel are exactly where you would like them to be. And also that level of acceptance. Certain things, if we learn to accept that these are parts of ourselves, then we learn to take away the dogma of criticism and emotionally destroying ourselves and feeling like we're not good enough. The time is on a mass collective scale where we know as humans that is not working for us anymore. It does not generate any greatness from it. We are wanting to be around people that are moving in the same direction, that have that same belief, that want to empower other people, that want to be able to be there to support them and pick them up when they need them, and not because they need it because they're weak, but because they're just feeling a little bit vulnerable, and that's okay. And being able to then offer and support that to someone, and know that when that time comes, if you need it, there will be that support network that there is there for you. And there is this beautiful shift that we're in humans, where we are all starting to really want to elevate to this whole new level of really, seeing the light and that magnificence that's within each one of them, and being able to really highlight that within that person and say, you know what, you are truly awesome in this area, and I admire that about you. And knowing that every single person was put on this earth with admirable skills within us that just totally is here to be able to help change this world. So in order to be able to access some of these things, we're going to need to be able to go within, connect in with who we are, get to know what your truth is, get to know what you're so passionate about, find out that real truth of what really sets your soul on fire. And it's going to be very different sometimes for different levels of where you're at. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I went in and I asked what was all of this feminine flow? What was it that is the benefit? What is we there to learn from this week around going within and being in that feminine flow? Now, the very first thing that came up was the change card. Now, change is around knowing that there is change that's occurring on a cellular level. When we are surrendering and releasing, we are like when we surrender and let go, we leave spaces within our physical, mental, emotional, and soul and spiritual levels, and they all need to recalibrate to be able to come back to and vibrate a new level of vibration of energy within us that resonates with the person that you have become now. And so therefore, whilst we're going through all of these changes, it's really important to have that gentleness, be soft with ourselves, be able to see that right at this point, even though you may not. Now, I'm going to say this loosely because really some people will be already starting to see signs, and some people, their signs are going to take a little bit longer to come through now. That doesn't make any difference, okay? So be patient with yourself. Go in and always ask for questions. Always ask questions to your soul, your guides, your loved past family members, and always know that the signs will be revealed to you. But there's a real heightened awareness around that synchronicity of events that are playing out. So be mindful of the signs that are coming out. There are also validations that you're on the right path where you need to be, that you have surrendered what it is that you need. And if there is resistance, go in and ask, what is it that you can do to move through the resistance so that you can allow that full transformation of healing to transpire for you? And know that the result will be revealed to you. So there's all of this beautiful transformation that's going on, such a huge, incredible soul level. When we go through this month, we're going to have a lot of downloading periods, and then we're going to have an uploading period. And what's going to happen with that is that our energy is going to have ebbs and flows through this period, and that's where we need to be able to be mindful of the energy that we execute and where are we executing it, so therefore we don't deplete ourselves, and therefore that we can move through this transformational time and in a way where we are managing our energy in a really constructive way, as opposed to forcing it in one direction and then having to pull it and drag it from another area. We can manage the energy that we give because we're bringing mindfulness to this week and being able to know that if we are in flow with ourselves, then we have all of the skills that we need necessary to be able to get through this week. And that's going to bring this next card up, which around that femininity, was to bring up that level of feeling empowered, is also around a level of vulnerability. Now, for some women, I'm not going to say women, I think in general, when we bring through this real gentle softness in our world, we can sometimes feel a real vulnerability because we're showing people a more gentler, softer side on ourselves, especially if you're a real go-getter and like balls to the wall, you know, you call it as you see it kind of chick, and then all of a sudden you're coming through in this real gentleness. That can bring up a whole new level of vulnerability, because you'll start to think, you know, well, if I'm not playing at this game all the time, then that means that I'm showing a level of weakness. That's that old programming. So remember that's an old program, and that's that resistance that can come up that I've been speaking about. Allow yourself to sit in that space of feeling vulnerable, to feel that gentleness, to feel that softness, and then also have a look at the outcome in which you will receive different outcomes just by playing from a different space. And what I mean by that is, say normally, because we have that choice, we can use that real masculine energy, which is force, push, make things happen, or we can use this feminine flow this week and allow ourselves to stay in that natural alignment of flow with the energy that is around and in alignment with our own truth for our own self. Now, say, for example, you've got a situation with your partner. I'm just going to say this because 9 times out of 10, we all have partners. And normally you would be like, talk at them and, you know, making sure that you're getting a point of view. And it usually ends up in a very big disagreement. Now, could you imagine if that same situation came up and you then allowed yourself to be able to communicate on a different level, where you could hear and listen to what your partner was saying, and they also took that opportunity to listen and hear to what you were saying? Could you imagine how different that outcome of that would be, simply because you're coming from a more feminine flow? Now, of course, your partner's probably going to stand back and be like, what has happened to my partner? But that's okay. It's really nice for them to be able to see this different side of yourself and know that your outcome for that situation can be drastically changed by simply shifting gear and allowing to move with the flow of things, and being able to look back and go, really, is this situation really so vital to my whole being that it's worth having a massive argument over? Or is there a different way in which I can go in and approach this conversation with them and get a really much different result, and be able to start creating new changes within my relationship? Because, you know, as you know, we have Mercury retrograding. Mercury is all around the aspect of communication. You will find this is a really great way to bring this mindfulness of that feminine flow in, is especially in the way in which we communicate with others. We all get on this hype around Mercury retrograde. Computers are going to crash. Everyone's going to argue, blah, blah, blah. If you set the intention for that, that's exactly what you'll set yourself up for. But if you just bring that awareness that communication can be and maybe a little bit more challenging, then it also brings yourself back to that self-acceptance of bringing accountability, to be mindful of the words that you choose. Don't just open up your mouth and just spill your opinion across to someone else. Take the time to check in, assess the situation. Does the energy of the people that you're around, are they going to be able to be in a space in which they can be able to absorb what it is that you're saying? if you approach it from a completely different way, would you get a much different result? So, and knowing that your level of sensitivity, when we talk about that femininity, it's also about that level of sensitivity. So being sensitive and being mindful through the words that you choose is never going to be a bad thing. It allows us to bring more conscious awareness to the words that we use, knowing that words have the potential to heal or harm. It's our choice. Although we get the opportunity to go in and say sorry, doesn't take back the hurt or pain. So they're all little things to be mindful of this week. So I wish everyone an incredibly and exciting, beautiful week moving through to the new moon. One last thing is that this is the week where we can start setting intentions. So you can start creating a list around what it is that you would like to create for your new moon intentions, which will be in this following Monday coming on the 21st of August. So take care. Have a great week. Much love to you all.